Welcome to Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Welcome to our new table as well, our new set. I hope you enjoy it. We do. We are joined in this half hour by Senator Ed Hernandez. Then we will speak with Scott Svonkin. He is a member of Los Angeles Community College District. And then Janet Chen, who is a member of the Garvey Unified School District and running for the Rosemead City Council. But first, Senator Hernandez, thank you for joining us. And I must say, a tremendous victory for the Senate Democrats. There were 3 targeted races in November. Kathleen Galgiani, Richard Roth, Fran Pavley, all Democrats, all targeted heavily by the Republicans. They all won.
Yes, I agree. And thank you for having me here. And all I can say is the voters of the state of California have spoken.
That's an understatement.
Yes.
I mean, to say that it was a Democratic tidal wave could only be described as a massive understatement. Sure, we thought that the Senate Democrats could carry the Senate with a 2/3 majority. On the Assembly side, no one predicted that. And the Democrats won every single close race in the Assembly, plus 2 that weren't close. Unexpected. Chris Norby defeated in Orange County. Ron Smith was defeated in the high desert in favor of a Democrat. Steve Fox. I mean, this on the congressional side, every Democrat won close races.
Well, you know, I think what it is you're right. I mean, in the Senate, we thought we were going to hit the magic mark of 27. We ended up going to 29.
Yes.
In the Assembly, I wasn't expecting the 2/3 majority in the Assembly as well. But like you said, we picked up all of those marginal seats.
And more.
And more. And I think it's just a reflection and more importantly, the demographics of the state of California. And I tell people this all the time. What makes California so difficult to govern is its diversity. But that diversity was reflected in how we vote. And I think the Republican Party doesn't understand that.
And what's so interesting is so often we had seen California as a party that was divided north-south, but really it had been divided east-west. The coastal areas Democratic, the inland areas Republican, but not this time around. I mean, Democrats were winning Inland Empire seats. They were winning seats in Central California inland. I mean, it was just a geographic landslide.
But I also think it's a reflection of the voter change and the voter demographic change. Inland Empire, for an example. Richard Roth, an excellent candidate in Riverside. Who would have ever thought a Democrat was going to win? At first, we thought that was going to be a close win. It was a significant, victory.
On the congressional side, in the Inland Empire, a man who is Asian and identifies himself as gay
won.
Romp. I mean, it was a romp. It was a 59% victory in Riverside. This is a different day.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think for the first time, at least in modern history, the California State Legislature can now govern and we can be held responsible for our actions.
And let's talk about that because be careful what you wish for. You know, there's no doubt there's a lot of things that the Democratic supermajority can do. There's talks about reforming Prop 13, which is very precarious, I think it's fair to say. There were talks about single payer. You're an advocate of health care reform. Where does the Democratic Party go in a way to allow it to govern effectively but without overreaching?
Here's what I predict is going to happen. Despite the fact that the Republicans are going to say that the Democrats now control, they're going to start raising taxes, everything's going to go to the left, I disagree. What's going to happen now in the state of California, you're going to see the Democrats take control of issues. Yes, that's true. But you're not going to see huge increases in taxes because I think the voters have spoken, the legislature understands that, and you are going to see some modest reforms. Let's take reform of Prop 13. It's not a complete repeal. I mean, I understand that Senator Leno is going to be talking about changing the vote threshold from 2/3 to 55% for cities, municipalities to be able to raise their revenues for like Measure R, for example. Those are reasonable discussions that we can have now.
But that reform would have to go back to the voters, correct?
Yes.
And so in the final analysis, yes, the Democrats can get it on the ballot without getting signatures, but the voters will have a say.
Yeah, ultimately the voters can have a say because Prop 13 was put into the Constitution by the voters. And we can't change that without going to the vote of the people.
I must speak with you about health care reform. You have been the go-to person in effectuating the reforms that were put in place by Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. As we speak today, there is an effort to get the exchanges in place. California's been early on that issue, but there's also an issue about those that don't qualify for exchanges, those that can't get private insurance, and it's what you want to set up known as the basic health plan.
Correct.
It died in the assembly though over the summer.
It was held in appropriations, so we're going to be bringing it back. For what's going to happen in January, we're going to have what's called special session only to deal with health for a couple of reasons. Number one is the implementation of the Affordable Care Act in 2014. We need to do a special session to get it done by then to give us enough time to do all the regs. So I'll be doing 3 major pieces of legislation.
And you're a doctor, of course. I must mention that.
Thank you. I'm an optometrist by profession.
Right.
So I'm going to be introducing the Basic Health Plan, which is the bill that was held in appropriations. We're going to do the market reform bill that the governor vetoed last year, as well as the Medicaid expansion.
But let me ask you about the Basic Health Plan, though. I mean, that is your baby.
Yes.
And I got to say, I was a bit surprised that it was held or died on the assembly side. What's the problem?
You know, what drove me to the Basic Health Plan was the affordability aspect for individuals who I consider the working poor.
Right.
These are people who are going to have to make a decision between buying health insurance, where they have to spend 10% of their annual income, even with subsidies, and buying food.
Right.
Okay. Now, there's a pocket of money, a pool of money that's available for these individuals, and the way we're going to be able to reduce healthcare costs to them, get them a lower price but a better product, someone is going to have to make less money. And unfortunately, that's going to be the providers, the hospitals. The reimbursement rate for the providers and the hospitals is not going to be as high at that level, say, for example, like the exchange. Won't be as low as Medi-Cal, but there will be slightly less money they're going to be making. This is where the opposition is coming from.
So have you got a coalition together? Are you now working with the major healthcare providers? I mean, look, I've seen the same articles you have. Anthem Blue Cross increasing rates by 18%. I mean, it just keeps going on and on. I know that's a private issue, but are they ready to jump on board to support a basic health plan? It's almost like a small donut hole.
Right, right. Well, you know, we're definitely working with all the various groups. We're trying to build a coalition. We're going to be reaching out to the various leaderships, obviously the pro tem, the speaker as well, to do what we need to do to make sure we move this legislation forward.
Are other states looking at the basic health plan? Because honestly, I had always thought it was either private health insurance or exchange.
Right. The only ones I know of so far are California. It's an option that states have in the Affordable Care Act.
They do have that option.
They have every state in the
And there's
United
a funding
States.
mechanism for it?
Yes, the funding mechanism through the federal government. 95% of the money that's drawn down, federal money, will go to pay for this segment of the population to give them, as I said, a lower out-of-pocket expense. And it was modeled, it's going to be roughly around $25 to $30 a month for a family of 4 that makes between 133 to 200%
Right.
poverty
I want
level.
to ask you about the exchanges as well. As I'm sure you know, the Obama administration recently said that if you participate in, let me correct myself, it's not so much the exchange, but the Medicaid expansion. It's either all in or nothing.
Right, right.
And so is California ready to go all in?
I sure hope so. We're getting a little bit of mixed signals from the governor's office, and I think because his fiduciary responsibility wants to make sure that California is not going to be on the hook for paying for that segment of the population in the future. The problem...
But it's only, what is it, down to 10? It's either 100% or 90%, right?
Well, what happens is the states that choose, and unfortunately the Supreme Court ruled that the states don't have to take the Medicaid expansion money. So therefore, states like California, which I'm assuming and I hope we do, will take it to raise it up to 133% of poverty level. Now, if you choose to do that, the Medicaid that we're taking now and the new additional individuals that are going to be will be taking on Medicaid, the federal government will be paying 100% of that subsidy money.
But we have to be all in.
We have to be all in, which we should.
I never thought it was a question whether it would be all in. It's only recently that I heard rumblings about it. So are we all in?
I'm all in. I mean, I'm going to be introducing the Medicaid expansion bill. We're going to hopefully put it in front of the governor's desk, and I hope we get a signature. I will work collaboratively with the administration. I'm not speaking on behalf of the administration, but I understand that they have some questions and some concerns. Now, maybe where the concerns comes is by the end of the 3-year period, then the federal government will drop that subsidy portion to 90%. But 90% coverage for these individuals is pretty darn good, which is important.
His name is Ed Hernandez, member of the California State Senate. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Scott Svonkin. He is a member of the Los Angeles Community College District. I'm Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back on Charter California Edition. Welcome back to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Our guest, Scott Svonkin. He is a trustee with the Los Angeles Community College Board. We thank you for joining us. And I want to speak with you about the recent election. We know that Proposition 30 passed, and a significant portion of that money goes to community colleges, as well as K-12 and higher education. Before we talk about the benefits of that, I want to ask you, did you ever think it would pass?
Well, I was very hopeful because I believed in the public, in the people of California.
Yeah, but forget the platitudes. Did you really think it would pass?
I did think I thought it was going to be close.
I didn't think it was going to pass.
Yeah,
I really didn't.
I thought it was because I thought the public understands how critical public education is to the future of California.
Yeah, but they also understand that smoking is bad for you. And in June, they didn't pass a tax on cigarettes.
Yes, but the cigarette industry spent millions, tens of millions of dollars. Nobody spent money, thank God, in big numbers against Prop 30.
Kinda. I mean, Molly Munger came out against Prop 30 in her support of Prop 38.
She did, and I think she was misguided because you don't want to hold the colleges and universities hostage just to help K-12.
I wonder if her initiative suffered, in addition to other reasons, but also because it didn't provide money for community colleges and higher ed.
Yeah, I think that the public understood that kindergarten through university is a critical path to success, and her initiative missed that point, and I think that's why hers failed.
And miserably. I mean,
Yes.
I don't think she got 25% of the vote. It was really rough. I think just around 25%. Okay, so now that it passed, what does that mean for community colleges?
Well, first I want to thank the people of California because the people of Los Angeles County voted overwhelmingly for Prop 30. That means that we're going to be able to invest
And neighboring counties did not.
No.
Which was interesting.
Yeah.
Not Orange, not San Bernardino, not Riverside. It's interesting.
Well, I think that has to do with the fact that the people of LA County value education a lot and are willing to pay for what they value.
So explain what that means specifically, let's say for the Los Angeles Community College District.
Well, we're going to have the ability in the coming year to serve 15 to 20,000 more students. It means that we're going to spend $15 million on new classes so that people can get through college to university or to a job.
And let's talk about that matriculation, because you yourself, for example, you went to PCC, and then you transferred to CSUN. That's the hope and dream of many, but for many people, it's turning into a nightmare because they cannot get the classes that they need to graduate in 2 years, even 3 years. We know that some students are taking classes on more than one campus because they can't find the classes. So is that going to change?
Well, I think it's going to change in a few ways. First is Prop 30 is going to allow us to have 15,000 more seats. So the students that are there will be able to get their classes more easily. Also, we're changing how we present the opportunity to education. We're going to make it so that the students that are in our colleges have priority to get their classes. We're going to make it so that people who go to school just for enrichment come second.
I understand that, and that's somewhat controversial, but be that as it may. But you mentioned students that are in our colleges. Is there going to be, because I've heard rumblings about this, a preference for students in your zone of influence, if you know what I'm saying? Those students, for example, that want to go to two campuses, one's probably in their zone of influence, the other is not, and there's discussion about preferring those in your zone.
Well, I support giving preference to LA Community College students, and the advantage you have if you go to an LA Community Colleges is you have 9 choices. We have 9 campuses. For the colleges where they're coming from outside of our district, they may not have as easy a time getting classes in our district.
So in terms of LA Community College, all 9 are considered one.
Correct.
So you can go from Valley to Pierce or whatever it is, and you'd still be part of that zone?
You can, yes. And that
no preference?
Not yet. We're debating the issue currently. And my preference, if I'm successful, will be the advantage of going to an LA Community College is you have 9 choices, not one.
What about PCC, for example? What if someone who goes to PCC can't get Spanish 101, they want to come to LA Trade Tech or whatever it may be?
Well, I'm happy to have them if we have a space. But if we don't have space, our obligation is to serve the people that live in our district.
But that begs the question then, is that we are in a situation now where students are just clamoring to get the classes they want.
Right.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned this before. About 85% of students in the fall of 2012 were put on waiting lists for at least one class.
Right.
This doesn't feel right.
Well, one of the long-term goals I have is to try to get the legislature to understand that we need to invest in college, so that, because it's for two reasons. One is it helps them get to university, or it helps them get a career.
Here's the challenge for you. There are 51 jurisdictions in the United States of America. California is at the bottom in terms of tuition, literally 51st. Now that's terrific in a lot of ways. Community colleges are the most affordable here in California, which makes it a tremendous target to increase fees, which has been done already, but we're still well below the national average. So, I mean, if you're looking for money, charge more for community college.
Well, the state legislature sets our rates, sets the tuition, so it's not a job of a trustee like myself to do that. I also think that because community colleges are the great equalizer, we don't want to make it so some people can't go to college. And that's why California has led the way. That's why we have the largest, most successful community college system in the nation. And I'm proud to sit on the board of the largest system. So I think the solution is we need more funding for the people that want to go to school, because college shouldn't be something you can't attain.
Well, how about this? We know that four-year institutions have been very successful in raising money from their alumni.
Yes.
It's kind of a tradition for a four-year graduate to give to their higher education institution, not for your two-year institution.
Right.
But there have been discussions, and there have been several community college districts that are working to fundraise on their own, and not just for scholarships. I mean, PCC's fundraising, SMC is fundraising. I read that Bakersfield College got a $14 million donation.
Yes.
So is LACC looking at fundraising for its 9 campuses?
Yes, we do fundraise campus by campus, and we have some very successful foundations at Pierce, at Valley College. We have some of the most successful foundations in the community college world, but we have a strategic advantage, and one of the things for this coming year that we're going to do is we're going to set up a district-wide foundation. And we have the fledgling of one, but it has not been engaged with the business community as much as we should. One of my priorities for the coming year is to develop streams of income other than public funds.
What could they be?
Well, we have some unused assets. We have some facilities space on our campuses.
Isn't that a bit controversial? The facilities at LACC, that's been on the front page of the LA Times a bit.
Well, we've changed how we do business. When I got elected a year and a half ago, there were huge controversies. But we've opened up competitive bidding. We've had transparency. We've appointed people from the public to be more of the public's watchdog. And so, yes, but we have extra facilities. We have extra space and extra assets. And so we want to invite the business community to come in and turn our campuses into incubators for jobs.
What about locations for Hollywood shoots? I mean,
you know what?
What about charter schools on your campuses? I mean, there are a lot of ways.
We have 2 of our colleges that have high schools on our campus.
Oh, really? Which ones?
We have one at Harbor College and one at Southwest.
I didn't know that.
And in fact, the Harbor College is one of the top 10 in the nation, high schools. Yes.
Who knew?
And they graduate with not only a high school diploma, but they graduate with an AA.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
That's
just terrific. When we come back, we're going to be speaking with Janet Chen, who is the Vice President of the Los Angeles School Trustees Association. You're the Secretary-Treasurer.
Yes.
In our final moments, talk to us about what that organization is looking to do as we move forward. That's just not community college, it's also K-12.
Right. Our goal is to educate and help community college trustees and K-12 school board members be more effective. Help them bring resources and innovation to their campuses throughout the county of Los Angeles. That's our goal, and I think with the challenges in today, both K-12s and community colleges are going to look to partner with the public and the community, because you can't rely on government for to pay the entire bill for education anymore.
There's no doubt about that. Okay, his name is Scott Svonkin. He is a trustee with the Los Angeles Community College District. When we come back, as I said, we'll be speaking with Janet Chen. She is currently a trustee with the Garvey School District. She's also running for City Council in Rosemead. I'm Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back on Charter California Edition. Welcome back to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Our guest, Janet Chen, she is a trustee with the Garvey School District. She is also the vice president of the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association, running for Rosemead City Council in March. But I wanted to speak with you first, Janet, about the tragedy out of Newton, Connecticut. We both have children in elementary school, and what happened there can only be described as horrifying. Talk to me about the tragedy as a mother and as a trustee.
These are the situations where you want to hold your children a lot tighter. And I can only feel, my heart goes out to all those parents who are still swallowing the moment. And I know that this is something that's going to affect everyone in the United States, not just those who are affected directly.
So at Garvey, for example, do you have fences around the school? I mean, school safety always becomes an issue. Are there metal detectors? I mean, I don't know if you have a metal detector at an elementary school, but still.
Right. We do ensure that, you know, anybody who comes through the schools are always signed in. That there are visitors, that parents, the staff always knows who's coming in, who's going out.
But in this situation, it was the child of a kindergarten teacher. I mean, you probably would have let that person on campus anyway. Obviously, there's only so much that can be done. So what now? Where do we go from here?
The most important thing is to make sure that children understand, you know, when a big tragedy like this happens, and then to ensure that the parents also know that their kids are safe, and to talk to kids about what's happening. You know, are my friends going to come back to school next week, and do they really understand whether, you know, when a child is gone, that they're not coming back? You
know, I received an email from the principal of my children's elementary school, and it was very well written, very wise. And the last thing you want to do is ignore the situation.
Absolutely.
I mean, children will hear about it, and so it's important that we discuss it with them even weeks after the incident. It's hard to change subjects, but let me change subjects and speak with you about Proposition 30, which did pass.
Yes.
It provides, I don't want to say additional funding, but it prevents future cuts that would have happened if it did not pass. How is that going to impact Garvey or any school in Los Angeles County, since you're a trustee?
Yes, thank you.
You're part of the board of the Trustees Association.
And the Los Angeles School Trustees Association did pass a resolution to support Proposition 30, and so we're very happy that it passed. Garvey specifically is looking at a $2 million deficit versus a $4 million deficit.
Okay.
So unfortunately, the last time I came on your show, we talked about being positively certificated, and now we are.
You're negative.
You're qualified.
Right.
We're qualified.
So what do? You know, there are discussions about bonds, about lowering the threshold for parcel tax, but you have an issue right now. What do you deal with the issue? How do you deal with the issue right now?
Well, on top of the fiscal cliff and the sequestration, we're looking at parcel taxes, definitely.
So what do you think about the proposal that's floating right now? Mark Leno, state senator, is talking about allowing, it's not just school districts, but municipalities, local districts to pass parcel tax with a 55% vote as opposed to a 2/3 vote, which is what you would need right now.
Well, what we saw in the last election, you know, many of the measures and the bonds have passed, and we
they
know
have
that people,
with 2/3.
Right, but people really want to help their schools, and so I think that my community specifically would be very willing to do that.
But look at Measure J, for example, the transportation tax. I spoke with Carol Liu recently, and she talked about lowering the threshold there because Measure J, which would have extended the sales tax for an additional 30 years, needed 66.66. It got 66.12. I mean, that's a squeaker.
It's tough when it's that close.
Right, and especially when, you know, I'm not advocating for or against Measure J, but almost 2/3 of the people wanted this. I mean, what happened to democracy, majority rule? You needn't comment. Let's speak about democracy, because I know that you're running for the city council in Rosemead, and I was fascinated to learn that in the, I guess it was 2 election cycles ago?
It was about 4 years
4
ago.
years ago, 3 candidates were elected. And the difference between the 3rd place vote getter and the 4th place vote getter was?
1 single vote.
1 vote.
Yes.
And it's not like Rosemead is Vernon, you know, with 112 people. Rosemead has what, 50,000 people in it about?
About 58,000.
Yeah, 50. I mean, it's a smaller city, but it's not Vernon.
Right.
1 vote. What do you do?
Well, that's why every vote counts.
Every vote counts.
Yes, it does.
In an epic way. But I'd like to hear about how it is to run in a tight-knit community like Rosemead, and how you intend to bring that extra vote over the finish line to make sure you're not in that situation.
Well, I think in most smaller places, the leadership is very important. And so if you are someone who's forward-thinking, you can foresee the future.
Right, arguably.
You can envision a different kind of future, and that resonates with the community there. Then, of course, you're able to, be able to win those kinds of votes.
But here's the challenge for you. For example, you are running in an election that is in March.
Yes.
March. Is there anything else on the ballot?
No.
No. I mean, is there even an LA County election? Well, I guess, is the LA mayor's race happening at that time?
Yes, it is.
But that's a different ballot.
That's LA.
That's LA.
Yes.
So it's not as if it's a consolidated election. I mean, is it all mail-in?
Most of your votes will be mail-in.
But it's not a pure mail-in election. Because,
It is
there are
not.
some elections that are pure mail-in.
Right.
It's not that.
No. So the city of Rosemead, you do need to win your absentee votes.
Right.
But at the same time, you really do need to connect directly with those constituents and continually
But I
do
would
that.
think there'd be so much vote fatigue. I mean, we had the presidential primary. We
Yes.
has there been discussion about trying to line up your municipal races with larger races so you could avoid?
I would say that in the future.
Right.
But at this point, we are about maybe 12% come out to vote.
12%.
It's very, very
That's
small.
tiny.
Yes.
Now, there are 3 seats open or 2?
There are 3 seats this
And
time.
I believe there are 4 running.
Yes.
And so it's just the top 3. You don't go to a runoff.
No.
The top 3 move on.
Just the top 3.
That's tricky. I mean, and you have 3 incumbents running?
Yes.
So you're the insurgent?
Absolutely.
So that's fair enough. I mean, we know that about Janet Chen.
Yes.
So, you're starting to actively campaign. Talk to me about what you're doing. How is it talking to your voters? What do they want? What do they need?
With campaign strategy, of course, I can't divulge it here on your show.
I don't know. I don't so much want your strategy, but
Yes.
But look, I mean, we've turned the corner economically.
Yes.
But now you're running for city council, not school board. The issues are a bit larger, not as focused and targeted. So what are people saying to you?
They are saying, we want Janet Chen to be yours.
But what's important to them? What's important? Because look, like you said, Rosemead, 58,000 people.
Yes.
Only so much a city council can do of 58,000. You're part of a regional economy.
Yes.
But still, I mean, there are things that you can do. So what are they asking? What are they saying?
They want to see Rosemead re-envisioned and redefined, which means that because we are an immigrant community,
Right.
primarily mom and pop shops,
Right.
we have a lot of immigrants that come in with specialized skills. And we see mom and pop shops really developing.
Right.
And so, we have SoCal Edison in
Right.
our backyard.
Of
We have
course.
Panda,
Oh, right.
Yeah, we have Panda headquarters in our backyard.
Literally in city limits?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Well, that's nice.
Yes.
That's nice for property taxes and sales taxes.
And it's very nice, but we need to focus on our small businesses.
Right.
And we really need to give them a leg up.
So what can you do? You don't have redevelopment anymore.
No.
So you can't help with redevelopment. Do you have enterprise zones in your city?
No, we don't.
No. Okay, so there's not a lot you can do. Well, but maybe there is.
We are a residential neighborhood, yes. But
Is the city more, I mean, look, I've been to Rosemead. I recognize that sign with the
Yes.
rose off the freeway, but
Yes.
tell me more. I mean, what can be done?
Rosemead hasn't fully, it doesn't know its potential because of where we are clearly located with transportation
Right.
coming up. All of those topics Rosemead needs to know where it is in the wider San
I
Diego
like that.
Valley
I get
area.
it. I get it. And it's coming alive.
I'm going to come back on your show and I'll start to
Promise?
talk to you a little bit more.
I
Yes.
think you can.
Yeah.
Her name is Janet Chen. She is with the Garvey School District. It's the K-8 district.
Yes.
She's also the vice president of the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association and
a
running for Rosemead City Council. I'm Brad Pomerance. Thank you for watching Charter California Edition.